Highguard is shutting down on March 12th. 45 days after launch. Yeah, pretty rough. So, yeah, today I wanted to kind of just make a video, just kind of talking about the situation. Honestly, in my book, it's actually kind of sad. I think this is an interesting conversation to have because while a lot of people on the internet and most, I guess, a lot of people that were not a fan of Highguard kind of just want to pass this on as just another, failed hero shooter, just like Concord. I mean, granted, this game lasted longer than Concord, so in one way it's a success, but the other end ended up the same fate. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it was because I honestly think this is pretty sad, honestly, because I think there's a major difference here compared to the Concord and other games in the past that have failed in similar lights. I kind of just wanted to talk about it and maybe bring us some points and then just talk about maybe why Highguard failed and maybe what it means for the industry as a whole and maybe even how to avoid this. Alrighty, first point. Bad first impression. So, if you're not aware, or most likely you are, when Highguard was first revealed was at the Game Awards this past December. It was actually the last announcement of the night. I actually watched the trailer the day after. I went to bed early because I had work in the morning. But yeah, it was the last announcement of the night. And usually, as you all know, the last announcement at the Game Awards is usually the big one, the big bang, the one that leaves everybody kind of like just lost for words. Usually the one that everyone's looking forward to. Highguard happened to be that game. And to say there's a not so great reception would be an understatement. Like a very big understatement. A lot of people were underwhelmed. The trailer did not really show Highguard in the best light, and it just kind of, for the most part, a disaster. Everybody kind of just like got mad at Geoff for his like review of it and how he basically like overhyped it, and everybody on Twitter was going like all over the place. And yeah, it was not good. And I think this is one of the reasons why I think Highguard failed. Because even the devs admitted themselves that that trailer was not the best representation of what Highguard was. And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, after trying the game myself, actually, I thought the game was pretty fun. And I admittedly, like, going into the game, like, the trailer did not give a good idea what the game was about. I mean, you could maybe speculate based off some details, but honestly, I thought the game was going to be like team v team v team kind of game, but no, it's a 3v3, which I was not expecting. And I think that on top of just how weird everything looked and how like not very basic, but more like it didn't really give much detail, especially with the game that was supposed to be like a unique game or a raid shooter. It would have been good to have a trailer that gave a better idea of what we're dealing with here. Because admittedly, it just looked like a generic hero shooter. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I think Highguard did do well was because the first impression, which I believe when it comes to anything, first impressions are everything. Or they can mean a lot a lot of difference in like how a person perceives something. And a lot of the general public after seeing that trailer wasn't interested. They kind of just dismissed it, didn't like it, and you already saw it on the wrong foot or started on the wrong foot. And I think that was like one of the major like mistakes Highguard made that kind of caused its initial input or initial impression to not be great. And I think what might have better way to especially with the cinematics they made after the fact. Like after the game launched, they actually watched like these really cool cinematics that were really well made, and I really would have thought like this would have been a better trailer or reveal trailer for Highguard, and people would be a little more interested. But I guess to add on top of that, it being the last announcement of the night, which in my opinion I don't think was a bad thing, because he stated he just wanted to show off the game and thought it was a good game. It wasn't necessarily the devs' fault for they didn't choose to be put in that spot. I mean, they actually paid for a spot, but didn't ask me to last. It's just they got put last, which is kind of out of control, which is kind of sad, admittedly, after what happened. but it's just, I think that at first impression just wasn't the best. Alrighty. The second reason, unnecessary hate. This is where I guess it gets a little bit more controversial, but personally, this is how I feel. So take it with a grain of salt. So I feel there's a lot of unnecessary hate online when it comes to Highguard, because I generally think the game is pretty good. It was pretty fun. I'm not saying it's perfect. Trust me, it's far from perfect. There's a lot of some stuff that needs to work out, but the game was actually pretty fun once you played it and got understood the mechanics. But for some reason, as you guys might have aware, when the game came out, the game got instantly review bombed, like instantly. And it was so bad that when you looked at most of the reviews that were like did mostly negative, these people played under like 10 minutes, like under 10 minutes, like a lot of times like being like very low like time. And it's really sad because it showed that these people weren't even really like planning on really trying the game. They just wanted to hate on it just to say it, just to prove a point. And it kind of sucks because later in the game's life cycle, people actually tried it more and more, and actually the people that like didn't like it originally started to like it more because they played it more. They actually got more time in it, and that's where I feel like was kind of frustrating. Was like, is this really what the gaming industry has become? Where we won't even like, we are so devoted to hating something, or it's so popular to hate something that we don't even give it a good chance. And I think that sentiment, as well as online, how people were just so quick to like just throw hate and just not give it like dare give it a chance, and just like most of the people hating on it didn't even play the game yet, I think was kind of frustrating. And I think that's another reason why the game just didn't do well, was because people that were like didn't even really know who Highguard was and was like, huh, what's this game? They see all these reviews that's like mostly negative. They see all the sentiment online, and it turns them away because they think, oh, the game must be bad. But that's the thing, the game wasn't that bad. I mean, there's some room for improvement, but it wasn't that bad. It was actually kind of fun, and it's kind of sad that a lot of people didn't get to try it because of how bad the sentiment was. And then number 3. This is where I think my biggest criticism of the game is. Boring / generic character design. We gotta admit, man, the guy on the cover, like Macro said, genericus. These character designs are really boring. I don't want to throw any hate towards the artists and people that created the characters, because they obviously put some work into them. But when it comes to a hero shooter, it's very important how your characters are perceived. Because not only do your characters need to be memorable and just interesting to look at, they need to be empowering enough where people want to talk about them or like embrace these characters. There's a reason why games like TF2, Deadlock, Overwatch have been so dominant, or at least so like popular for like the longest time, because these characters in these games have made an impact where people want to bring them outside of the game, create art. Like it's just crazy, like how generic these art designs look. Like the stories of some of the characters are interesting, but admittedly, they don't look interesting. Like, when you stop playing Highguard to go play any other game, it's like you don't have that urge to come back. Like you don't have the urge like, ooh, I really want to learn more about this person, or this guy is so cool, like I really want to like make art of them. You don't get any of those kind of feelings about like these characters. And you know a character is really like empowering or very like eye-catching when like somebody, like many different people in different communities, uses people as profile pictures, as art, like OCs, like these people take these characters, make their own renditions of them, and it just shows how big of an impact these characters have on people's lives. And Highguard didn't do any of that. These characters admittedly just look very boring, and they could have like gone way farther with some of these character designs. Like it's just really sad how basic and generic they look, and especially the guy on the face of the cover of the game just doesn't look interesting. So I think this is one of the major like downfalls of this game, where if you want to have a successful hero shooter, you need to make the heroes interesting enough to want people to learn more about them. And it's just that, I think, is one of the biggest like faults that caused the game its downfall. Alrighty. Lastly, I wanted to talk about one more thing before I wrap this up, but what does this mean in the bigger picture? Listen, this is where I feel this is why I kind of feel kind of sad about Highguard dying. Granted, I personally kind of lost interest in the game, but this game was not backed by a big greedy corporation. This was made by an indie studio. Granted, it had a lot of talent from the well-known studios like Respawn and other studios like Call of Duty and like active, like those kind of popular studios, but or behind those games and such. But at the same time, they didn't have the same like financial backing like how a big corporation like EA or having like Activision behind your back. They don't have that. They were an indie team that was passionate about making games and wanted to make a good game for the enjoyment of the players. And what kind of bothers me is how the announcement of Highguard dying and how people are kind of like saying, I told you so, or kind of like just like, you know, seem to be so. They basically, the sentiment that I'm getting is that people act like this is a big corporation, the game's dying. Like this is good for gamers because we get rid of this slop because like they try to shove down our throats. But I think there's a big difference that people are missing. This was an indie company that was actually trying to make a good game. Granted, it wasn't perfect. There were some imperfections, but they were actually trying, and it showed in a lot of their business decisions and how they like immediately respond to feedback within like a week of the game coming out. Like, did you all see how fast they added 5v5? Like, that takes usually like other companies like months to do. They did it in a matter of a week. And that's what kind of just frustrates me is that people like don't understand that like this is what we've been asking for. Like people have been asking for an indie company to take the reins, like not have a big publisher behind them and like generally like care about like listen to the community and make a good game and try to make something unique. Not only was this game unique, they actually was an indie company and they genuinely cared about their product versus every other company doesn't care. And all they care about is making money. If this was actually a passion project compared to a lot of other games where it doesn't feel like that anymore. And I think that's the very frustrating sentiment that I think is just frustrating about this and sad because now these people lose their jobs. They got to go work back to those companies that they left because they were trying to do something different, but didn't work out. So now they go back to those companies they don't want to be at and work on the games that we basically are not happy with, that are slop to a lot of people's eyes. And yeah, and it's sad because we basically got what we asked for, but look how we treated it. So my hope is that in the future this doesn't happen again, where if someone else makes an attempt, that they actually try to like learn from the mistakes of Highguard and even Concord and not make the same mistake. And that's the other thing too. Like this is very different from Concord. I mean, one difference is it lasted way longer than Concord because Concord didn't even last a week versus like Highguard's lasted for 45 days, which I think is an accomplishment in itself. But I digress. The difference, I think, is that Concord was literally made to just jump into like the live service bandwagon and just try to make as much money off it. And this was like on the back of like PlayStation trying to get into that market and just make as much money as possible. They didn't really care about like the technicalities of the game. All they care about is the game was to make money. Versus with Highguard, they actually care that the game was fun. And I generally think they actually met that goal. The game was fun. And I think they just needed more time to patch out some of the issues and make things better. And if they were given that time and given a chance, I think the game could have done well. But at the same time, with how the sentiment was around the game and players just not being interested and falling off, unfortunately, the game is shutting down on March 12th, and there's not much we can do about it now. So yeah, I kind of wanted to do a different style of video for this one. I wanted to try a little trying to just commentary but honestly, I just like talking about games, and I would love to share that love with other people. And I do enjoy this kind of content a little myself, and I kind of just wanted to try it out and see how it works. And let me know if you guys like to see more of this, and I'll definitely continue doing it. I just like talking my thoughts out, little editing. Makes it easier to get posted, as well as just helps me get my thoughts off my chest and talk about things I love. And yeah, so make sure to like and just subscribe and just react if you guys enjoyed it, and comment, let me know down your thoughts of what's y'all guys' reaction to Highguard closing, and what do you think they could have done better to make the game last longer? And does this does this affect you, or what you guys' thoughts about it? Yeah, so thanks y'all for stopping by, and if you guys watch all the video through, I really do appreciate you. And yeah, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.